As the years passed, the rivalry between Steve McQueen and Clint Eastwood became less about individual films and more about the legacy each man was building. Hollywood has always measured success in different ways. Some actors chase awards. Others chase box office records. Some simply want to become unforgettable. McQueen and Eastwood seemed determined to achieve all three, but they traveled completely different roads to get there. By the middle of the 1970s, Steve McQueen had already earned the nickname the King of Cool. It wasn't a title handed to him by a studio marketing department. It came from audiences who saw something unique every time he appeared on screen. He didn't need lengthy speeches to dominate a scene. Sometimes a single glance, a subtle smile, or the way he leaned against a car was enough to capture attention. Directors often admitted that McQueen possessed a rare quality that could not be taught. The camera simply loved him. Clint Eastwood, meanwhile, was creating an entirely different kind of legend. After the enormous success of his westerns, he transformed himself into one of the most recognizable action stars in America. Then came characters who pushed his image even further. He wasn't merely playing heroes anymore. He portrayed complicated men who often existed somewhere between justice and revenge. Audiences accepted these morally gray characters because Eastwood played them with complete confidence. The more successful Eastwood became, the more frequently journalists placed his name beside McQueen's. Entertainment magazines loved printing side-by-side photographs with headlines asking readers to choose their favorite. Television programs debated who represented the future of American cinema. Fans wrote letters defending one actor while criticizing the other. Neither man needed to participate because millions of viewers were already having the argument for them. There were moments when industry insiders wondered whether the two legends would eventually appear in the same film. The idea fascinated producers. Imagine the excitement of seeing Hollywood's two biggest tough guys sharing the screen. It would have been an instant box office sensation. But such a project never materialized. Some believed the reason was scheduling. Others pointed toward creative differences. A few claimed that neither actor wanted to risk being overshadowed by the other. Whether any of those explanations were entirely true remains uncertain, but the result was the same. Fans were left imagining what could have been. Behind the scenes, McQueen continued living life at full speed. Racing remained one of his greatest passions. Fast cars and motorcycles gave him a sense of freedom that acting alone never could. Friends often described him as happiest when engines were roaring and competition was real. Winning mattered to him. Losing bothered him more than he usually admitted. Eastwood's greatest competition looked very different. Instead of racing against other drivers, he raced against time itself. He constantly searched for better scripts, stronger performances, and opportunities to direct films that challenged both audiences and critics. Every completed project became another lesson, another step toward becoming more than simply a movie star. Their contrasting personalities became increasingly obvious whenever people who had worked with both actors shared stories years later. McQueen often arrived carrying restless energy. Conversations moved quickly. Decisions happened fast. He questioned everything and trusted very few people immediately. Eastwood projected the opposite impression. He listened more than he spoke. Crew members frequently described his film sets as calm and surprisingly relaxed. Instead of creating pressure through shouting, he inspired confidence through consistency. Perhaps the difference explains why rumors of confrontation always seemed easier to attach to McQueen than to Eastwood. If someone told a story about McQueen losing his temper, people believed it because it fit his public image. If someone described Eastwood responding with icy silence, audiences believed that too because it matched the personality they thought they knew. Reality, however, is usually more complicated than reputation. Those who knew McQueen personally often insisted he possessed tremendous generosity beneath his rough exterior. He cared deeply about family and close friends. He respected hard work because he understood what it meant to struggle. The confident movie star the public admired had once been a troubled young man fighting simply to survive. Eastwood carried hidden complexities as well. Behind his calm image stood someone who had experienced disappointment, rejection, and years of uncertainty before becoming famous. Long before Hollywood recognized his talent, he endured auditions that led nowhere and projects that failed to attract attention. Success had not arrived overnight for either man. That shared history may have created more understanding between them than outsiders realized. Still, competition remained unavoidable. When one actor released a successful film, reporters naturally wanted to know how the other would respond. Box office numbers became headlines. Salary negotiations became gossip. Even award season occasionally turned into another chapter in the imaginary contest between the two stars. Then Hollywood itself began entering a new era. A younger generation of actors started attracting attention. New directors experimented with storytelling techniques that challenged traditional filmmaking. Blockbuster franchises slowly began changing audience expectations. The industry that McQueen and Eastwood had helped redefine was evolving once again. Steve McQueen faced perhaps the most difficult challenge of his life. Health problems forced him to think beyond career ambitions. The man who had built an image around physical strength suddenly confronted the reality that even legends cannot outrun time forever. His determination remained extraordinary, but the battles he now faced were deeply personal. While McQueen's life entered that painful chapter, Eastwood continued expanding his career with remarkable discipline. Every new directing project strengthened his reputation. Critics who had once underestimated him gradually acknowledged that he possessed genuine artistic vision. He was no longer simply surviving Hollywood. He was helping shape its future. Looking back, it becomes clear that the supposed rivalry between these two icons represented something larger than personal competition. Steve McQueen embodied instinct. Clint Eastwood embodied patience. McQueen trusted emotion. Eastwood trusted discipline. McQueen often burned brightly in explosive moments. Eastwood built slowly, carefully, year after year. Neither philosophy was wrong. Both created unforgettable careers. Perhaps that is why audiences remain fascinated decades later. They are not merely comparing actors. They are comparing two completely different approaches to life itself. One chased excitement. The other mastered control. One lived as though every day might be his last. The other planned as though every decision might shape the next 20 years. Their differences created one of Hollywood's most intriguing unofficial rivalries, not because of confirmed public arguments or dramatic television confrontations, but because each represented a different version of greatness. As Steve McQueen's health continued declining, many within the industry quietly reflected on how quickly fortunes could change. Only a few years earlier, he had seemed untouchable. Now the conversation was no longer about future roles or bigger salaries. It was about hope, recovery, and time. Eastwood watched Hollywood continue moving forward, but he also understood something many younger stars did not. Fame is temporary. Reputation lasts longer. Legacy lasts longest of all. Without ever standing face to face in the dramatic showdown imagined by rumor mills, Steve McQueen and Clint Eastwood had already challenged each other in the most important arena imaginable, the history of cinema itself. And as the decade drew toward its close, one final chapter remained. It would determine not which man had won their silent rivalry, but why both names would continue living long after the lights of Hollywood had faded from their generation.